yummy Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew, good for the young. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. Today it is the Red-Headed League. What's a Red-Headed League? I don't know. Let's find out. I visited my friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, one day in the autumn of last year. I found him in deep conversation with a very stout, elderly gentleman with fiery red hair. I apologized for my intrusion and was about to leave, but Holmes abruptly pulled me into the room and closed the door behind me. You could not possibly have come at a better time, my dear Watson, he said. I'd like you to meet Mr. Jabez Wilson. Sherlock Holmes turned to the red-haired man. Dr. Watson has been my partner in many of my most successful cases. I have no doubt that he will be a great help to me, and yours as well. Please tell your story again. The stout gentleman rose from his chair and gave a bob of greeting. He pulled a dirty, wrinkled newspaper from the inside pocket of his coat. I took a good look at the man. I tried, just as Holmes would, to learn something about him from his dress or appearance. I did not gain much from my inspection. Our visitor seemed an average British tradesman. There was nothing remarkable about the man except his blazing red hair. Sherlock Holmes noticed me eyeing our visitor, and he smiled at my questioning glance. My dear Watson, he said, beyond the obvious facts that he has at some time done manual labor, that he has been in China, that he has done much writing lately, I can deduce nothing else. Mr. Jabez Wilson started in his chair. How in the name of good fortune did you know all that, Mr. Holmes? How did you know I did manual labor? It's true, I began as a ship's carpenter. Your hands, my dear sir, said Holmes. Your right hand is quite a size larger than your left. You have worked with it, and the muscles are more developed. Ah, of course, I forgot that. But the writing. Your right cuff is shiny for 5 inches, and the left has a smooth patch near the elbow, where you rest it upon the desk. Well, yes, said Mr. Jabez Wilson, but how did you know I've been in China? The fish that you have tattooed above your right wrist could have only been done in China, said Holmes. I have made a small study of tattoo marks, and have even written a bit on the subject. The delicate pink of the fish's scales is quite peculiar to China. In addition, I see a Chinese coin hanging from your watch chain. Now, Mr. Wilson, if you would tell us about your situation. Well, it is just as I have been telling you, Mr. Holmes, said Jabez Wilson, mopping his forehead. I have a small business at Saxe Coburg Square, near London. It's not very large, and lately it has only just given me a living. I used to be able to keep two assistants, but now I can only keep one. And it would be hard even to pay him, but he is willing to work for half wages to learn the business. You seem most fortunate to have an employee willing to work for half wages, said Sherlock Holmes. It is not common experience these days. What is the name of this youth? His name is Vincent Spaulding. And he's not such a youth either. It's hard to say his age. I don't think I could find a smarter assistant, Mr. Holmes. I know very well that he could earn twice what I am able to give him. But if he is satisfied, why should I put ideas in his head? Why indeed? He is still with you, I presume. Yes, sir. He and a girl who does a bit of cooking and cleaning. That's all I have in the house, for I am a widower and never had any family. We live very quietly, sir. But then Spaulding, he came down into my office just this day, 8 weeks ago, with this very paper in his hand, and he says, Mr. Wilson, I wish that I was a red-headed man. Look at this. He handed me the paper. Here, read it for yourself. I took the paper from him and read the following advertisement. To the Red-Headed League. There is now a vacancy open which will pay a member of the league £4 a week for light work. All red-headed men are eligible. Apply in person on Monday at 11 o'clock to Duncan Ross at the offices of the league, 7 Pope's Court, Fleet Street. What on earth does this mean? I cried. Holmes chuckled and wiggled in his chair, as was his habit when in high spirits. It is a little off the beaten track, isn't it? Very good now, Mr. Wilson. Of course, my hair is red, Jabez Wilson began. Spaulding thought that I might be chosen for the vacancy. He even offered to come down with me, so we shut the business up and started off for Fleet Street. I have never seen such a sight, Mr. Holmes. From north, south, east, and west, every man who had a shade of red in his hair had tramped into the city to answer the advertisement. Fleet Street was choked with red-headed folk. Every shade of color they were. Straw, lemon, orange, brick, Irish setter, liver, clay. But as Spaulding said, there were not many who had my real, vivid, flame-colored tint. When I saw how many were waiting, I would have given up. But Spaulding would not hear of it. He pushed and pulled and butted until he got me through the crowd and right up to the office steps. 2 lines of people stood on the stairs, some going up in hope and some coming back dejected. But we wedged in as well as we could and soon found ourselves in the office. This is Mr. Jabez Wilson, Spaulding said to the manager, Duncan Ross, and he is willing to fill a vacancy in the league. Mr. Ross, he glazed at my hair until I felt quite bashful. Then suddenly he plunged forward, shook my hand, and congratulated me warmly on my success. I cannot recall when I have seen anything so fine, he said. Then Mr. Ross stepped over to the window and shouted through it at the top of his voice that the vacancy was filled. A groan of disappointment came up from below, and the folk all trooped away in different directions, till there was not a red head to be seen in the square. Mr. Ross told me that to earn the £4 a week, I must stay in the office from 10 to 2 every day, copying out the Encyclopedia Britannica. I thought it strange, but I agreed. For 8 weeks I copied the books. Every morning I was there at 10, and every afternoon I left at 2. And for 8 weeks I received 4 golden sovereigns. Sorry, my reading is not here today. I received 4 golden sovereigns for my work, but this morning I went to the office and found a sign on the door that said, "The Red-Headed League is dissolved. October 9th, 1890. And this is a longer story than I was expecting, so that's where we're going to leave it today. We will come back to it and hopefully finish up on telling you all about the Red-Headed League. Until then, goodbye. Mountain Dew. Have some Mountain Dew.